Good day, and thank you very much for being with me. I am Mr. Jhayvi Dizon, and I'm going to discuss with you what a content-based syllabus is. As a teacher, it is one of our important roles, maybe not right now, but maybe in the future for some of us, to craft and manifest a learning experience appropriate to the learning needs of our students. Now, what is a content-based syllabus? Before that, let's discuss first briefly what a language teaching syllabus is. A language teaching syllabus, according to Riley, in an identified date, it involves linguistic matter and the subject matter at hand. So as a teacher, you have to determine what to talk about and how to talk about it. Now, a syllabus, according to Riley as well, specifically for language teaching, can be purely linguistic, meaning that it could focus on grammatical and lexical forms, and it could be purely semantic or informational, to which, in that case, we have the language teaching syllabus put focus on the skill and information, in which the content-based syllabus is in line to. The content-based syllabus lets the learners experience the language while being taught of the specific content. Now that we have made mention of the language teaching syllabus, let's focus on one of its kinds. Okay, so we have the content-based syllabus being backed up with this underlying theories. We have the first one, which is Krashen's theory, that's cited by Brown in 2000. So second language acquisition is most successful when conditions are similar to those present in the first language acquisition, to which Brown says that students should be putting more focus on the making of the meaning of the language rather than on the focus on the grammatical rules. So we have to engage our students in authentic use of the language, meaning we have to let them experience the usage of the language other than promoting and prescribing to them the grammatical rules at hand within the language. We also have to give them the opportunity to get involved in an anxiety-free environment. So according to Crandall in 1994, we have also the focus of second language acquisition should be on something meaningful. So this is in line with what Brown has stated, according to the Krashen's theory. And we also have to let students experience the academic content and let them be accessible to our learners. So this is in line with content-based instruction, because content-based instruction primarily focuses on the significance of the content in line with the language learning. It also gives opportunities for students to experience the academic content, even though that they have a different language for themselves. We also have comments from 1981 and Collier from 1987, to which they said that there are two types of language proficiency. So the basic interpersonal language proficiency skill is actually learned for 1 to 2 years. And it coincides with cognitive academic language proficiency, which is learned for 5 to 6 years. Now, in this case, these two kinds of language proficiencies need to be well taken care of in the classroom instruction, because the first builds up the second, and also they coincide with one another. That's according to Cummins and Collier in 1981 and 1987, respectively. Now let's talk about the framework of content-based instruction. The first framework that I've been able to cite is from Stoller from 2002, citing Brinton et al. In 1989. So content-based approach or instruction provides language class with activities specific to subject matter, which has been discussed already, that content-based instruction puts primarily its focus on the content as well. So students are taught to think critically by evaluating the authentic material in the target language. Having been mentioned that content-based instruction puts focus on authentic experiences, this case, students are taught to think and evaluate the authentic material. Say, for example, literary pieces. They are encouraged to speak in the second language or the target language so that they could also manifest the linguistic elements into themselves. And we have oral responses are also elicited. The second framework that I'll be discussing is from Snow et al. In 1989 as well. Language learning objectives in the content-based instruction are derived from three sources. The first one is second foreign language curriculum, because of course we also have to follow what kind of curriculum is being set for second language learning and foreign language learning. We also have the content area curriculum, to which the students will be focusing and will also be gathering the linguistic elements from. And finally, we have the assessment of learners' academic and communicative needs and ongoing evaluation of their developing language skills, so that the teachers would be able to gauge if the students are able to learn the content and to learn the linguistic elements. Having been able to discuss the framework of the content-based syllabus, let's now proceed with the discussion of the principles of the mentioned syllabus. So we have here different reasons why the CBS has been established for different classroom instructions. So we have here the first one, which is cognitive and second language development go hand in hand with the development of the children. Language, cognition, and social awareness develop concurrently for young children. So teachers have to accommodate these changing needs when the learners are still going through their development. Language is learned most effectively for communication in meaningful and purposeful social and academic contexts. So as mentioned, the content-based syllabus already gives enough experience for the learners to experience socially the context of the content. So that is in line with the academic context as well, learning all the while the linguistic elements. And these linguistic elements are also appropriate to the social context mentioned. Content provides motivational and cognitive basis. So since the learners are actually interested with what they're learning, with what the content is being given to them, their interest will also affect greatly how they will be learning the language, because with that interest, they will be trying to consolidate and express themselves in the target language. Moreover, we have immersion for foreign language education that will be discussed in the next slide for the history of the CBS. Content or context-reduced tasks offer little contextual support for the learners. As I've mentioned, the CBS already gives enough contextualization for the learning experience of the language and the content as well. Moving on, of course, with the history. The history falls back to the immersion programs of the United States of America and Canada. So the immersion program has provided learners who are non-native speakers of the English language to experience and has given the opportunity to experience, to learn the academic content in schools and also learning the language in the school. So this is backed up with a study by Lambert and Tucker in the bullet found on the last bullet here in this slide. In 1972, they have conducted a controlled immersion study, which resulted to an affirmation to the efficiency of the said method of the language acquisition. So the immersion program, as I've said, has focused primarily on limited English proficient students. So Crandall in 1994 has found that language minority population has dramatically increased in school, which he notes that the CBS is prominently used in the US for its multi-ethnic, multiracial, and multilingual classrooms. So since these classrooms are multi-ethnic, meaning that there are different cultures, identities, and whatnot, there was a need to integrate the CBS for the classroom instruction, so as to accommodate as well the learners who are non-native speakers. With this, the establishment of the foreign language proficiency programs have been made possible. Whereas it also follows the CBS, the foreign language is also used to teach the content in the instruction. In this regard, we also have to talk about the bilingual programs in education, because this is in line with the history of CBS. Bilingual education programs then were established in the US and Canada in the goal to keep non-dominant language speakers in school and provide opportunity for bilingualism. Let us now discuss the advantages and the disadvantages of the content-based syllabus. The first advantage is learn language and subject matter simultaneously. This is an advantage because you're hitting two birds with one stone. Language is learned in context, is what is mentioned a while back. Motivational aspect is also one of the great factors to be considered here, because learners are very much interested with the content they're learning. and it also coincides with the learning of the linguistic elements present in the content. Allows the learning of the 4 skills. Later on, I will be giving you a sample syllabus that taps the 4 skills, and authentic materials are used in this discussion or in the syllabus, to which contextualization of learning is also given priority. Facilitates comprehension in target language through various contents. So the teacher will be able to explore different contents, topics at hand, to discuss with the students and to let the students express themselves in the target language. However, there are demerits to this classroom syllabus, or in this teaching syllabus rather. We have it leads to premature fossilization of errors. This is one of the biggest questions that we have to consider in the content-based syllabus, because we do not know when is the appropriate time to correct the errors. So it leads to premature fossilization of errors, and it gets perpetuated by the students themselves. What content and how much content should be addressed in this type of syllabus is another question. And another question to be imposed is, how do we ensure that the topics and the texts chosen will give sufficiently balanced exposure to the target language that is representative of the target situation? And that is how the teacher factor comes into play. In this case, teachers' lack of knowledge and content should also be addressed. The teacher, before going to the classroom, should also be knowledgeable of the content they're going to talk about in the classroom instruction. Little material available in the market is also one of the things to be considered. Now, the answer to these kinds of disadvantages is accountability. It is also from Skelton and Willis in an identified date. They made mention that the syllabus designer must, in all fairness, produce a syllabus that is accountable to sponsors, testers, future employers, and of course, the learners themselves. One of the solutions provided is to adhere with the communicative language teaching methodologies, adhering to the principles of purposefulness, interactivity, creativity, and unpredictability. That's according to Clipperton in 1994. So according to the CLT methods, one teacher should also be able to address these concerns by adhering to the principles mentioned. Purposefulness, that's in line with content-based syllabus. Interactivity, because you're going to let the students experience the language itself. Creativity, in a way that your classroom instructions should provide contextualized learning experiences, and unpredictability, to which the learners will not be able to follow something that is directed already by the teacher. Spontaneous instruction is also given priority in this type of syllabus, or in this type of communicative language teaching. Content-based syllabus is also one of the types of syllabus that falls under CLT. Now, here are some implications to language teaching. So that's according to Short, Crandall, and Christian in 1989. The teacher's discussion may lead to a number of very productive collaborative strategies. So since we're talking about different contents, teachers of language can also collaborate with different content or subject teachers. We have them benefiting both the students and the teachers. These include analysis of texts, materials, and curriculum, classroom observation, reflection, and feedback. There is collaborative action, research, and reflection. Of course, we have to also consider conducting research so that we could also address different concerns that would arise in the conduct of the content-based syllabus in the instruction. Development of integrated or complementary lessons, materials, or curricula, so the teachers could collaborate with one another through team teaching. And collaborative university courses for pre-service and in-service teacher education. And those are the different implications for teaching different types of languages in the course of the content-based syllabus. And here are some research findings. So the first research that I was able to cite is from Nguyen Tu Chungan. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but the title of the research is Content-Based Instruction in the Teaching of English for Accounting and Vietnamese College for Finance and Customs. So according to this study, there was an overwhelming weight of emphasis in language analysis in the teaching of English for accounting. So this is for English for specific purposes, specifically for accounting majors. So in the ESP course, the teaching materials teach students to recognize the surface form by means of specialist text. But the problem with this specialist text is that they're too specialized, and maybe jargons are probably made use in these types of texts. That is why it has been very complicated for the students to understand. Now, with this reality, the researcher produced a syllabus which gave high priority to the language form and content via simplified language and authentic materials. So to do this, the researcher conducted or incorporated a content-based instruction in the ESP context, and to see its effect, the researcher administered a survey to the students. Whereas the findings from the research reveal that the students' interest and involvement in the course were highly considered and correlated with the findings. Also, they highlight the students' ability to get better scores in all modes of ESP. So the findings and the results of their evaluations coincide with their interests. And that is one of the research findings that I was able to gather. And I think this research is also quasi-experimental. Now let's proceed with another research. This research is entitled Effects of Content-Based Instruction on English Language Performance of Thai Undergraduate Students in Non-English Program. That's from Pachara Vinik Vasin. Again, I don't know if I pronounced that right, but the research purposes were to develop lesson plans for content-based instruction, evaluate the students' perceptions of the effectiveness of content-based instruction, and third, investigate the effects of content-based instruction on English language performance of Thai undergraduate students in a non-English program. And the findings of the study was that pilot tested with 14 non-targeted Thai undergraduate students, the CBI was perceived with effectiveness at a high level. So the methodology of this research was through the means of content analysis and a t-test. All right. Moreover, let's talk about the different samples of syllabus under the content-based syllabus. So this is one of the syllabi that I was able to cite online. So here is grade 5 maybe for learners in the grade 5 level. So we have here the student profiles, learning goals, stipulated in the left-hand side. We also have here what is very important to be tapped is the student learning outcomes, which are specifically the 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Also, as you can see here, we also have the different planned assessments and student work products, but most importantly, we have here the content area highlighted with the targeted vocabulary. So we have here the content areas: social studies, science, math, and of course, the vocabulary to be studied. Mother, father, brother, and sister in the line. So with these contents, or the subject matters, they will be trying to correlate that with one another in order for them to learn that the specific vocabulary is targeted in this learning profile. Another example of a syllabus that I was able to get online is similar with the content-based ESL curriculum map. So the formatting was also similar. Now it's just the month of October. And here they're going to discuss different topics. So these are the different contents that they're going to address. Maybe these are the topics that the teacher will be trying to incorporate in the discussion so that the students will be able to listen, speak, read, and write. All right. It's also focused on the content area. In the content area, it doesn't include anymore the targeted vocabulary. However, it includes the targeted vocabulary, autumn, seasons, oceans, and MEPA. And the content area is science. So that is how the content-based syllabus works and how it functions for the classroom instruction. Finally, in the last slide, are my references. So the content-based syllabus, again, in a nutshell, offers different opportunities for students to experience the language in context. So it's a working context. The students will be able to reflect on how the language is applied while learning the content as well. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me through any of my social media platforms if ever you have been able to recognize and identify them already. Or maybe you can send me a message through my email, dizon.jc@pnu.edu.ph. Thank you very much for listening. That ends my discussion for the content Content-Based Syllabus. The study guide will be uploaded in the Google Drive, as mentioned by our professor. Thank you very much and have a good day.